Okay, I should be live. I've got no idea if this setup's working. I usually check on my phone, but my phone is charging, so I'm just going to jump onto my YouTube, and see what the audio quality is like. That is my main concern before we get to the meat and potato. Oh no, that's okay. That's good. Right. So has it been a little while? I usually do a little impromptu video in between the more serious ones, and it's kind of loose style. You know, I don't often advise people to watch these, but they're here just in case you're interested. We can kind of get into things. If you want to leave something in the chat, hopefully the live chat works today. I just want to say, you know, I've been really happy with the feedback I've been getting in these recent videos. I feel like there's a lot of good information that's filling up the comment sections, you know, and it's really surprising and interesting to me how people from many different walks of life find themselves immersed in this study of eschatology. I think that's really cool. For an example, I didn't know this. I've still to check it out for myself, but a Bible was recommended to me, I think to everyone of the preterist persuasion. It's called the Kingdom Bible. The Kingdom Bible, and I've never heard of this Bible before. So that's something I'm definitely going to be interested in finding out a little bit more on. Apparently the commentaries and the perspective, the people who wrote it have this covenant eschatology view in mind. And, you know, we all sort of bring our biases to these interpretations to a lesser or greater degree. And I think that's something we have to be very cautious of as we look to, you know, give ourselves space to think and to search these things out. You know, it's that competition with your own self to be as objective as you can about a thing, you know. Gosh, it's so complicated. Human psychology, that is. Not that I know all that much about it. They're a module. But I was just kind of looking around. So what I do is I'll post my video. Topic this week is Daniel's 70th week, but whatever the topic will be, I'll do a YouTube search and I'll find people who have posted videos similarly themed by searching in the YouTube search bar Daniel's 70th week, and then refining the search criteria to videos uploaded this week. And at least then I know that I'm getting people who are on the pulse of this thing, like are following this thing. And it's not always people that are for it. Sometimes people are not for the preterist perspective. They're just giving their idea, and that's fine. You know, if there's anyone like that that's found their way to the channel, fantastic. You know, I'm not of the mind that if you think differently, you don't belong, or I'm going to be insulted by you, or you need to get all defensive about me, and nothing like that. And in that spirit, I found a YouTube channel called TDC Radio. Just in case you can't understand my accent, that was TDC Radio. And it's more of a radio show than it is a YouTube channel, but it live streams on YouTube. And it's a community of people. They have a Discord, and they invited me onto their Discord. Oh, that's another thing. Yeah, there's a preterist Discord that someone suggested to me that I haven't committed to memory. I think I'll be able to find it in my comments. You know what annoys me is when I go back to a past video and I see comments there that I haven't had highlighted in my little bell thing. Usually I get little notifications telling me if someone's left a comment. So sometimes I go back to a video just to check something else, and it's like, oh gosh, look, there's all these comments that I haven't seen. And I just got to say, you know, I'm really thankful for them because they have been wonderful. I'm pinning comments now just so that when people navigate to my videos, if they think the video doesn't sort of drive the point home, at least in the comments section, there'll be more there. But yeah, certainly, I touched on that point of eisegesis and the Daniel 70th week, and Don K. Preston made that point very clear recently too, about how we cannot let theology in define words, basically. And this key idea, this Hellenistic sort of divorced view from the Hebraic mindset, of Jesus riding in on a literal cloud, and how this idea has just washed away the significance of the Christian narrative, And I think it would be very exciting if we all got on board, because quite frankly, there's a big discussion to be had about the expression of Christianity today. Do we call ourselves Christians today? Is there something else going on? Is there other things that we could be reaching to and reaching for that we stop doing because we're living in this past mindset? This idea that between the 69th and the 70th week, there's 2,000 years. Nah, that doesn't happen. And something else that someone blew my mind with recently, I'm not going to name drop people if it makes you uncomfortable. If it doesn't, let me know. But, when Jesus is asked by Peter, what measure should they forgive? And Jesus says 70 times 7, something like this. And it was brought to my attention that actually in Daniel's prophecy, you have, let me clear off my board here. Oh, that's permanent marker. Oh no, you know what gets permanent marker off? I think actually alcohol. I'll put a little whiskey on there. Just got a little bit of whiskey. This is your Martha Stewart segment, if you're interested. There we go, see that? Good as new. There we go, we don't make mistakes here, just happy little accidents. Right. So Daniel was told this figure here, right? 490 years, okay, from that time to the time of Messiah. And when you do the whole 70 times 7 thing that Peter was told by Jesus, you get yourself the whole 490 again. You see these motifs coming up, We'll do some more math, right? We'll do some more math. So we're told in Daniel's prophecy, right, that we have this 1,290 days, and then we have 1,330. 5 days, you add those days up, you get your 2,625 days. And if you divide that by 365 days a year, you get 7.1. Let's round it to 7. Okay, so you get 7 years, right? And then you get your time times and half a time, okay, which is to describe 3.5 years, right? Now, when you go to Daniel 9:26 to 27, you see in the middle of the week, you shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering, and on the wing of abomination shall be one who makes desolate. So at this 3.5 year mark, halfway through the this 7 year period, the 70th week, we'll have this thing happening that causes desolation, okay? An end to sacrifice and offerings. And as I told you, John of Gischala and his men, isn't this wonderful when you can look into the history and pull out all this fact? John of Gischala and his men killed the priests and any others who would carry out offerings at that time, and this would be the year 70. And interestingly enough, this was the year, it was in this year that Vespasian came to power, and apparently the Zakkai, was it Yohanan ben Zakkai? He was the most notorious rabbi to survive and come out of the city walls before the Romans went in and decimated the place. Well, when he came out, it wasn't Vespasian who was in charge. Was it Nero still? I don't know if there was someone between Nero and Vespasian, but it was only when Vespasian he was like the kind of lead guy for the armies and stuff, the key general. I'm not 100% sure on all the different ranks, but he was then, let's call it, promoted to emperor during this time. And this is what this Rabbi Zakai said. He said, Vespasian, buddy, you're going to be emperor, by the way. Was he just endearing himself? Well, he was right anyway. And then Titus, who was the son of Vespasian, I think he was adopted, Titus. I don't know. There was a bit of adoption going on in the Roman Empire. Then Titus came to power. How cool is that? And the people of the prince who is to come, okay? The people of the prince who is to come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. There swaggers in Titus with his men and decimates the place. And as Josephus records in his book, The Wars, Titus was blown away by the swiftness of the victory and said, God must have excised these people from this land, because I'll tell you, look at the fortifications before us, And again, whether that you want to look at that in terms of war propaganda or whatever to try and smooth relations, I don't know, but it all goes towards this wonderful narrative of victory and fulfillment of prophecy. Let's see, where are we? Here we are. So, just to kind of segue into something here. So, I mentioned on a personal note that there was an American coming in from New York who I'd spent some time with 10 years ago. I hadn't seen her in 10 years, and she decided to fly in. Now, she's from Galveston, Texas, and she moved on out to New York to become an artist, and that's all I really knew about her. So we got together a few days ago now, on Sunday night actually, and I was nervous. I was so nervous. It was embarrassing. I don't know why I was so nervous. She's very, very pretty, and I think I had a wee crush on her when I was 20. And I think all those feelings started to bubble up again. I felt like an idiot. I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I getting nervous? I'm not interested, but I couldn't help but get nervous. Anyways, as soon as I saw it, it all kind of died away. Then we met under the clock in Glasgow Central Station, and then we went into the counting house of all places, and just off George Square. We sat down and we got talking. Now, I'm getting this all out the way now because all my goings outs with this coronavirus. So that's me. I've been out, socialised. Now I can just, sip on my whiskey. So what she had done with her life since then is she had joined the US Navy and served for 5 years, which is incredible. So she went from Texas to wherever they take you out in the ships and all the rest of it. And then when she got back as a veteran, she went to California. And so she spent some time out there, and she was like, nah, not really feeling the old California thing. She loved it, but she wasn't really getting in there anywhere. So she then got in her car, She drove the distance from California to New York City. And she said, I slept in my car for weeks. And I'm just thinking to myself, here's this 25-year-old wee 5'2" girl, woman, and she's living in a car in New York City. And I have to think to myself, is that safe? But that's this person for you, you know what I mean? They don't take any nonsense. She's got a nice wee sassy personality. I think she's half Mexican. American Mexican. That's a can right there, and that's her attitude, you know what I mean? It's all can do. So she gets herself in there. She says she sees somebody moving house. So she gets out her car and she's like, by the way, I need a place to live. Can I move into that house that you're moving out of, please? And I don't know how she worked it out, but yeah, it worked out fine. And then, as she's saying, the thing about New York is people are looking out for each other if you're at that level, you know what I mean? Like, I've heard people say that New York seems like a good place to live if you've got no money or a lot of money and not so great in between. And I think it's because of the mentality of people there. You know what I mean? Like if you've got a lot of money and you go out to New York City, you're going to rub shoulders with like-minded people. Similarly, if you go to New York, I don't know what I'm talking about, but this is what I think. If you go to New York without a lot of money, the way she sold it was people are going to look out for you. You know what I mean? And she said that there's a good sense of family there with the people that she's found. And I know that she's stepped away from her faith. This was something, you know, she's from Texas and, you know, in the South, there's a lot of religion. And she'd kind of come out of that. She wasn't really feeling that. And she was more in tune with the sort of atheistic kind of movement, you know. So I did bring it up. I did get into it. We hashed it out, man. I gave her 5 minutes. Can I just have 5 minutes of your time? That's all it takes. Didn't quite say it like that, but you know, we got talking, and I said to her, you know, I just told her about my life and everything that I'd done, and there was a few similarities there and things, experiences we'd been through, but I won't get into that because she could get into a lot of trouble for some of the stuff that she's been doing. But hey, you know, it wasn't morally bad. It was just politically illegal. I don't know, but it's fine. It wasn't like, trust me, it wasn't a bad thing that she did. So, gosh, that's, yeah, you want to hear that now, don't you? So, what happened was, you know, I told her that I'd been in this relationship with an American, you know, and the nature of it, you know, that it was two Christians meeting. And she'd said to me, you know what, I don't think I could ever have a serious relationship with a religious person. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. It's interesting that you should say that, you bitch. I didn't say that. Oh, I was just like, oh, no, that's a curious one. It's a curious one. Tell me more. And she kind of, you know, she told me that, you know, that she's getting a documentary made about her. You know, she's this up-and-coming artist in New York City. She's getting this documentary made. And she says, I'm going to give you a spoiler. You know, and she's telling me about her Latino roots and the kind of characteristics of that. She's like, you know, I'm very, very emotional, very just raw, you know, I'm a real person. And that's how you know when someone's real, when they insist upon it. And she's like, no, at this one point, they asked me a question about my art and about my, like, what it is that motivates me. And she said it was the temporary nature of things, you know? Like if something happens, it's okay because it'll be over soon. And then she told me she started to cry. And I thought, why is she telling me this? Because that registers on a certain level with me, you know what I mean? And I don't mean just to take it in like a Francis Chan sermon, but it's like, here's someone that's telling me that part of their art, part of their expression in life is this temporary nature of things. And that kind of gets her through, but it also leaves her emotionally vulnerable. And we kind of moved on to the next bit, which was just trying to fake each other's accents and stuff, you know, and just picking up the theme for there. But we're very unlikely bedfellows, or very unlikely friends, I would say. You know what I mean? Like the chances of me and her being friendly, you know what I mean? I'm not saying it's written in the stars we're supposed to be together. That's not what I'm saying. That's not the point. The point is, here's someone that's in my life, and I always talk about spheres of influence and how you can like be a light in people's lives. Well, here's someone sharing this bit of vulnerability with me, and this void, you know, this idea that things are temporary, and that gets me by. Also, I cry about it. I don't know, and I can see that in her life, you know, like if she goes out to New York and lives in her car, this is a temporary situation, and to a degree that can be good. And people talk about the pragmaticism of pessimism, and how you can be quite a proactive pessimist, you know, how that energy can actually be really utilized in a sort of healthy way, but ultimately the outlook is quite negative. I'm I'm an optimist at my core, you know what I mean? Or rather, a jovial apathist. No, I'm not. I think I'm generally optimistic. And I think that's what she is attracted to in me, you know. I think she likes that about me. And I think that's why we have this unlikely union of someone from New York, that's from Texas, that's like a cousin's friend that I haven't met in 10 years. And we can just meet up and get chatting like we're best friends. And she's invited me to New York City. So I'm probably going to fly out to New York at some point in the next 14 months. And I think if I do that, I'll spend a bit of time in America and go around it. I'll try and save up and do that and see what comes of it. But I enjoyed the interaction. I enjoyed the fact that she was able to share that with me, you know. And you know, people would tell you, some Christians would tell you to capitalize and seize upon moments like that. But I think there's a sort of unnecessary predator aspect to that, you know, where you're just looking for the person you're interacting with to expose their throat, and then you sink in with the fangs of evangelism. And I think that's very obvious. If that did work in the past, people are very clued into it now, and you don't want to be manipulative about it. You know when someone's going to be receptive or not. As I say, I've got a lawyer friend on Facebook, Richard Murray. He's from somewhere in America, and he was telling a story, you know, of how he had this ministry where he went into prisons to preach to people, and how he was actually led by someone past the high security point into a cell to minister to someone who needed to hear it. And he was so receptive; he wanted to hear it. He was led there on purpose. He says that guards came in armed and were like, how did you get past us? You come with us. And then he tried to describe the person that led him there. Doesn't exist. So that was a cool little story, you know, like he had an encounter with an angel. I love wee things like that. I love wee stories like that. But, you know, if someone's not quite ready for it, then it's all about planting the seed, and it's all about demonstrating the Spirit as best as you can, so that they get a little glimpse into that. Now, there's two big YouTubers that I quite like in terms of fun, light viewing, and they are Rhett and Link. Now, you're not familiar with Rhett and Link. They have a show called Good Mythical Morning, and some of the stuff's quite tedious, and you can go on and off them. But I like their chemistry, and they recently did a video where they came out and described their spiritual journey. Now, they were very devout from South Carolina. They were like missionaries from a young age, and it wasn't until they hit their late 30s, early 40s, that they actually began to question their faith, and in such a way that they've actually, I think, stopped identifying as Christians. But they still are spiritual people. They're still theistic, but they just saw errors in their view of religion, of Christianity, which, hey, you know what I mean? There are errors there in different denominations, glaring ones. And if they don't have suitable answers, you're going to be led away from orthodoxy, whatever that orthodoxy is in your particular church. And I don't think it's a bad thing. Listening to Rhett and Link speak, Rhett's philosophy was this. He says, at the central core, what I believe in, what my philosophy is now, is love, which is the central teaching of Christ to a degree. You know, this idea that you know, to love your brother. What's the most loving thing to do in anyone's situation? You know, which on a certain level, I mean, that works. And regardless of how he articulates his thought, if he says, I don't feel like I'm a Christian anymore, that idea, and I think the ideas that have obviously influenced someone from South Carolina, they're going to be essentially spiritually Christian. So there would be a time where I would look up celebrities to see if they were Christian and be like, yes, he's making it to heaven. Oh, crap, he's not. Oh, I really liked he was a good actor as well. Such a childish thing to do. I don't have to worry about the eternal fate of Rhett and Link. I'm sure they're going to be just fine. So yeah, I went onto that Discord. I mentioned that radio show radio, TDC radio. And I got talking to those people, and they were going through the book of Daniel, and they were looking at it from the futurist perspective. I told them I was a preterist at first, but I don't know if they understood that. And then they were very kind and welcoming, and it was contagious. Like, if you're looking for a lovely little group of people, they've got a nice Discord. You can go in there and talk to them. They're very welcoming. That's the TDC radio people. They do little shows where they discuss things, and they know their stuff. Like, they are actually really, really well informed. And that's the thing. If someone doesn't agree with you, if someone has a different perspective than you, then fair enough. But they might have insights into things that you have not even considered before, because whatever your line of inquiry is, as broad as you think it might be, it can actually be quite restrictive. You don't know. It's good to talk to other people because they can shock you with how relatively narrow-minded you are when you're following a line of inquiry. It's not a bad thing, but you could expand it a bit more, I feel, just by talking to other people, and they're a fantastic resource. And that's what these people are. For any preterist, while they disagree with you, and there might be certain members in there that might not think too highly of covenant eschatological folks. Someone try to say preterists. They might not think too highly of preterists, some of them, but you teach their own. If some people got a little snarky attitude about it, you just have to take it in the chin. But for the most part, I think everybody there was quite lovely, and I'm going to jump back into their Discord at some point. Right. What else is going on? So in terms of looking at eschatology now, I've been leaning heavily on this book here, A Personal Revelation by Eric Fugit. And, I'm covering quite a lot of stuff. There's, I think, maybe the Great Banquet might be quite interesting to hear about. It's an idea, but I don't know. I could go over some of the bowls and plagues and things like this, and the significance of them. That was one idea that I heard from these futurists. If you read through Revelation, there's a plague of locusts. They're coming. And as I was listening to them speak, they understood this to be real demon locusts with little suits of armor on and little bitey faces. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? We're talking about the supernatural. Everything's fair game. But at the same time, it's not. You're wrong. And this is a ridiculous thing. Like little supernatural bitey locusts. Come on. Maybe there's another way to look at that. Maybe there is. I mean, I actually haven't looked into it. Which is, that's something I need to look into. The reason I choose not to engage with something like that is because it seems really, quite silly to me. It's just this little nuisance idea. But if someone was to pull me up on it and say, hey, actually, what is that all about? I can't just be dismissive and say, well, I'm not going to deal with that because here's the big picture stuff. Accept the big picture stuff, and then we can work on the minutiae. We can work on little Jiminy Crickets. You know what I mean? Which I think is fair. That's really my perspective on it. But I do understand that some people will want all these little nooks and crannies explored, because that's where it tends to go, really. When you, as a preterist, explain the meat and potatoes, you'll have people say, "All right, that's fair enough. The central thesis of the narrative is that's whatever. But what about this tiny little thing? If you can't explain this tiny little thing, I'm not going to accept it." And it's like, gee, really? Really? You're making me work for my money here. Making me work for my money. I don't like coffee. I'm drinking coffee. But I don't like the effect it has on me, but I like the taste. That's what it is. So yeah, I think I'm probably gonna purchase a Kingdom Bible because that looked very interesting to me. I quite like to have different Bibles sitting around. My favorite version is the New King James Bible, which is just a superior blend. A superior blend. It's just a really nice Bible. I love the King James, and the New King James just dilutes it and takes away everything I love about it. What am I trying to say? No, I just, people, you get those King James only people, and there is something quite quaint and just, I don't know, a bit more majestic about a King James Bible, that old English. I mean, the New King James Bible does take away a lot of that, but at the same time, it preserves the sort of sentence structure and things that you come to know. So I quite like it for that. I feel like it doesn't deviate too much or embellish in certain ways. But no, that doesn't really bother me. That's not a real concern for me. Right. So I just want to segue now into politics, right? Politics. Not really politics. More like, well, it is politics. Certain policies, rather. Let's talk about immigration and crime and things like this. So I'm speaking to Gail, who's this girl I'm in this relationship with, and Tommy Robinson. If you don't know who Tommy Robinson is, he is a person that you don't talk about in polite company in this country, because he's the one everybody points to and says he's a Nazi, right? Tommy Robinson. Well, Tommy Robinson is a sort of salt of the earth Englishman from Luton. And in his hometown of Luton, there has been a lot of immigration from Islamic countries. And so he's seen a cultural shift from the English working class to a Islamic Muslim working class. And he's not a racist, but there have been tensions between those cultures. And one of the things that we're seeing in the UK is that, unfortunately, there's been rape gangs and human trafficking going on, done by a majority of, a preponderance of Pakistani men of Islamic background. And if you listen to some of the testimonies of the victims, they tell you that the reason this happened to me was because I was a white woman. And as a white woman, I am basically cattle. I'm not respected. I'm seen as a slut. And so these people can do with me what they want. And of course, hashtag not all, it's not all Muslims. It's not all people of any one particular ethnicity. But there is a problem and it needs to be addressed. And so this is what Tommy Robinson has done. And sometimes he hasn't been very eloquent about how he's done that. He's quite a lad, as we would say in the UK, He's just like a working class guy, a redneck, you would say, like maybe a redneck in America. But without all those I guess there's different connotations for these things. If you say a redneck, then people might think, oh, you mean like a racist or something. But no, he's not. So what had happened is his daughter, they'd went to this children's resort and they were in the pool. And he was outside the pool with his wife when his 9-year-old daughter comes running up and cries, "This man just grabbed me." So he speaks to his daughter, says, "Where did the man grab you?" And she points to her bum. And, he makes very clear, "Are you sure this happened? It wasn't an accident?" No. So Tommy Robinson approaches the men and he's like, "Where are your children?" And they're like, they weren't there with any children. And so the man who attacked his daughter tries to leave. So he subdues the perpetrator. But when the police arrive, they arrest Tommy because he assaulted the person and trying to stop them from leaving. And he's very distressed in the video because he records this while it's going on, and he's explaining to the police officer, that man in that room up there has not raped, but groped, molested, or whatever, my daughter, and you're going to arrest me? Have you stopped him? Have you taken his phone? Have you taken his laptop? They hadn't done anything of the sort. He was getting, nothing done to him, while Tommy Robinson was getting arrested for assault. And that ruffled my feathers. So I bring this up to my partner. And she's like, "Oh yeah, unfortunately, I've heard of Tommy Robinson." And I'm like, "Right, hold on. What do you know about Tommy Robinson?" And she's like, "Oh, he's like a racist, isn't he?" I'm like, no, he's not. I'm like, no, he's not. He's never came out with anything racist. He's, his friends are black. He's got black friends. He does. And I just made it clear that he just highlights this cultural tension that exists between certain Muslims and certain communities, and the negative practices and manifestations of wickedness that can come out of these cultures, as they can come out of any culture. But we need to address it. If we don't address it, if we don't describe the problem accurately, we can't reach a solution. And it can be stated very amicably. And I feel like there's a fear some people have that, oh no, we can't talk about it. If we talk about it, the white people they're gonna revolt. They're gonna start foaming at the mouth and killing everyone who has pigment. It's like, no, that's not the thing. I know the Nazis existed, but we fought them. We're not Nazis. So I don't know. We kind of got into the meat and bones of this, and then she starts to cry. And Gail did this before. She cried before when I showed up early to her hometown, and it threw her. So she's crying now. I'm like, why are you crying? You know what I mean? And I think I was talking about feminism as well, and I don't remember what I said about feminism. I think I said there was some particularly mean-spirited expressions of it now, but not that it's always been like that. I mean, I feel like it has been a necessary movement, but there comes a point. I don't know what I said about that, but it would be measured. And anyway, she starts to cry. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, for you it's just a conversation, but for me it's the lived experience. That's the way she says it. And I'm like, right, okay, I'm just gonna go over here. No, I was, so what happens when that happens is I try and steelman their case, right? So I try and state her case as strongly as I could possibly make it, or just her perspective. So I'm saying, right, okay, so you lived the experience of the female, and you've, like, I almost wanted to critique her at that point, but when someone starts to cry, you can't. Yeah, otherwise, you're just digging a grave for yourself. You know what I mean? This is someone you've got to spend time in their company. You don't want to, battle them when they're crying, but at the same time, I felt like saying, right, tell me about all the inequality you've experienced. Scottish women in the year 2020. Tell me about the inequality you've experienced. Tell me about the time you couldn't vote. Tell me about the time you couldn't get an education. Tell me about the time you couldn't do this, couldn't do that. You know what I mean? I could have went that way, but I didn't. I just said, right, I understand. I mean, to a certain degree, I do understand that men have certain propensities and how do you phrase this properly on a live stream? Men are better than women, right? Let's just say it. That's why we never talk about women in the Bible. I'm kidding. No, I think, because a woman can give birth to a child and all the rest of it, this is definitely going to become a bit of a diversion from a career path, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, naturally men will, chug on, and it's not all men. There is an exceptional number, like an extreme number, I should say, of exceptional people. And for the most part, men and women are the same. But if you go to the extremes, there's more men in the extreme who are, given to a certain number of skills and proclivities. And generally, men tend to be more interested in things and how things work than as opposed to women who tend to be more into an extreme people and things like this. So that's why you see more female nurses, but more male engineers. And the point's been made that, like in Scandinavia, where the point of the law has been gender equality, sex equality, you don't see men and women coming together and doing the same thing. In the condition, all things being equal, men and women diverge in interest. It's just the way we are, as Big Jables Peterson put it. We are oppressed by nature. All of us, we are oppressed by nature. We find ourselves in the avatars that we inhabit, and they have certain proclivities and certain skill sets, and we just have to make do with them, and we can try and smooth the rough edges as best as we can in terms of our relationships with one another. But ultimately, there's going to be certain capacities and skills that we're going to diverge in, and it's not a bad thing. If you can identify the things that you're best at, that's just a healthy thing to pursue. Anyways, getting into these kind of conversations, I find them fascinating. I've not got any blood in the game. Like, I'm not going to get vicious about it, and I'm willing to be wrong. But I just thought it was kind of disconcerting that she began to cry. But at the same time, I've got my flaws, and I don't know. Personally, I don't see crying like that as a strength, but I'm not going to criticize her in the midst of the tears. Like I say, she's a work in project, I'm a work in project, and if we can strengthen each other, then that's what a relationship is and should be, I think. Anyway. Yeah. Man, this coronavirus is brilliant. No, I'm kidding, I don't have it, right? It's like the thing, I might have it, but I'm not telling anyone else in the house. No, that's not it. It's not it. I shouldn't laugh. I may actually have it. I don't know. Probably not. I think there's only been 60 cases in Scotland, and there's 5 million people. But I have been to Glasgow, which is quite busy. But then I was in Glasgow on Sunday. I don't think the excrement had hit the fan at that point. I think I'm good. I think I'm okay. It has been almost 7 days, so we'll see. Yeah, I've won the lottery, but not like a big amount of money. Well, actually, I don't know, because I haven't checked. I got an email through saying you've won something in the lottery, and I just haven't checked what it is. Instead, I jumped onto rightmove.com, which is a property site, and I started looking at all these properties that I might acquire. I was thinking if I did win a nice sum, I would get a place in America. Nothing too extravagant, just a place in a nice sort of like warmer region, maybe Texas. And that would be a cool idea. Yeah, the lottery, playing lottery, is that a thing? The only reason I do it is, well, I'll play a Euro Millions occasionally, and the only reason I play the Euro Millions occasionally is not to win a jackpot. That's crazy talk. No, to win the raffle. There's a raffle where the UK selects a millionaire every draw, so someone definitely wins $1 million. So maybe that's me. I don't know. I haven't checked yet, but I've won something, so that'll be interesting to find out. And I was quite interested to find out that, like, not that per se, not lotteries per se, but like being a bookie, like, you know, betting on a race and stuff like that was like illegal in certain American states, even in like what, the 80s, 90s. I don't even know if it's legal now. You know, when you can consider like Scotland, and like there's places to gamble on every street corner. But I'm hearing about these illegal bookie operations out in New York in like the 80s, 90s and stuff. It's like, that's crazy to hear. I'm getting quite into that actually in New York City, especially the criminal aspect of it. If you don't know, there's a YouTuber called Larry Lawton. He's been out of jail for about 10 years now. He went down, he was America's biggest diamond thief. And he's trying to bring about prison reform, which I think is fantastic. I think the criminal justice system in America is too based on like retribution and punishment, you know. And we see this with certain governors who make the death sentence a sort of like political game. Some people want that death penalty there, and other people don't, but it depends what state you're in. And so a governor can just put it on the table and be like, yeehaw, we're going to murder some people. And then people will be like, yeah, I'm into that. But we shouldn't be into that. I don't think so. You know what I mean? I really don't think so. But as Larry Lawton said, if you take somewhere like Arizona State Penitentiary, that's like a particularly bad prison to be in. And he says, like, you know, of the general population there's like 200 people in there that just should not be in society anymore. Like, those are psychopaths. Like, those are people that are just going to go out and kill and love violence. We don't need them out there walking around. But he says, for the most part, you know, everyone in a prison is treated awfully. The living conditions are crap. The food you eat is crap. If you've got a health concern, it's not seen. You're not seen to. They'll just wait until you're out, and then somebody else can deal with it because they don't want to fork out the cash, which I don't think is right. I don't think we should take away human rights from people as a principle. I don't think we should do that. It doesn't matter if you're a criminal, you know. It's this idea you'll see it in medical dramas where someone comes in and it's like a killer or something like that, and then the doctor's got to make a decision, do I actually have to help this person? Yes, you do. You're morally obligated to help the human being without making any sort of judgment call on the person. You know, because if you start doing that, where do you draw the line? And who gets to decide where that line is? Oh, you're a Protestant? I'm sorry, I'm not going to treat you. I'd only treat you if you're a Catholic. You know what I mean? It's like, we don't need that. We don't want that in society. So it's better to have a liberal agenda in terms of the people, in terms of treatment, and that spans healthcare and the prison criminal justice system. I feel, you know, we should be working towards rehabilitation. And I think Norway, one of these Scandinavian countries, gives a great opportunity for rehabilitation. For example, like after a case has been given, people can come forward and speak and actually directly talk to the perpetrator of a crime or whatnot. You know, like there can be just a chance to stand up and speak and let your voice be heard. This is how I feel. This is the kind of things I'm going through. And then like that gets reported on and people can respond to that. And I think that's a bit more healthy. You know, I don't know. It's a complicated thing. It's not my expertise, but I feel like there's a better way to do it than with the way, well, from what I've heard from Larry Lawton. But yeah, you know, you got your Michael Francisi, you got your different families, your Italian families in New York, these criminal organizations, you know, and from the sounds of it, there were different families doing different things. The drug game is the worst. You don't want to get into drugs. That's how you end up dead. But if you can do little like tax schemes and stuff like that Francese guy, I think he was under, it was a Gambini family or something. He said what happened is people come to you if you're in the mafia. People come to the mafia with ideas, and that's what happened. That's how he made $9 million a week. He made $9 million a week for the mafia, and that's how you get in with them. You know, it's all about money in the mafia. If you make money, you're safe. And like at 34, he was like a capo, a captain in the mafia. He does YouTube videos now. He converted to Christianity, and he's sort of put that life behind him. But at the same time, you can tell he's profited off it, you know, quite a lot. But yeah, he was saying, you know, so he had this gas scheme where he had like 350 gas stations in New York, and instead of the tax for those the barrels of gas going to the government, he had found a way to get that money to himself, so the government wasn't getting the money, or however it worked out. He was skimming like, I don't know, 40 cents of every dollar, and that's added up to a lot of money, like a serious amount. And yeah, man. So it's these kind of dark economies, you know, and I don't know, when it comes to something like that, it's against the law, so it's not good. But I think everyone has that feeling it's not as bad as people getting killed, you know, like that Sammy the Bull who's on the street, and he was a hitman for Goro or someone like that, like some kingpin. And it's like, do we really want to make these deals with murderers and put the murderers on the street? But at the same time, it's like anybody can come to the light. And we're not seeing that enough in society today. We're not allowing people to come to the light. If someone makes a mistake these days, we have this sort of cancel culture where if you've done something bad, it's unforgivable, it's unpardonable, you don't get a second chance, you're done. And I do not like that, you know, because we saw a lot of that in recent years. And one notable case was Liam Neeson, when he shared a story from the past about wanting to go out, get someone that had hurt someone close to him. And he said it didn't matter in particular who it was, but if they had certain characteristics, I was going to smash them, you know. And he didn't do it, but he was just talking about how that was in his heart at the time. And the reaction to that was people just going nuts, you know, just throwing him under the bus and calling him all kinds of names. So I don't agree with that. Yeah. So that's it, you know. So I have, as I say, I've got this kind of interest in New York now. I've got this contact there that's inviting me over, and I'm looking forward to it. Like, I think that'd be a lovely trip, you know. Try and make the most of it. Do a bit of traveling there through America. When I can, once the world has stopped burning. You know, a lot of people, I'm sure, will be looking at this current time and thinking to themselves, have we got a seal that's been loosed? You know, is this one of the bowls of wrath? Is this, you know, a time of judgment? Nah, it's not. It's not. But people will like be expecting Jesus to ride in on a cumulus cloud. There's Mary. How you doing there? I don't know. Sometimes like people were chatting in the comments and it doesn't come up in the live stream per se. But from what I can see, the only person that's left a comment is Mary saying thanks. So that's the only person that I've seen a comment from. Yep. So yeah, there's really no end. Like, if Don K. Preston can make a video almost every day, then I'm sure I can go through and do one almost every day or every other day. But at the same time, I don't feel like I need to. There are other aspects of a Christian walk that are worthy of investigation, you know. Certainly, if you know this channel, you should be acquainted with David McMurdo's channel, and he gets into the right, you know, nitty gritty of spiritual matters, then I feel like that's ultimately a lot more important than matters of doctrine per se. But it's up to it's all up to what you're looking at and what you're looking for. And I feel like there's a lot of reform that could be necessary in Christianity, high push broad. But at the same time, it's like, should we bother? So, like, should we even bother trying to reform Christianity, or should we move? Just soldier on. Because ultimately, error cannot exist forever. There's going to come a point where the world will come to an end. But before that happens, I just have to think that people are going to become preterist, right? For how long will history have to march forward before people get it? Is every Christian going to end up jaded, thinking Jesus isn't going to come back? He's not come back. No, you know what? I believe people are stubborn enough. Have you ever seen that Nicolas Cage film? Is it 2012 or is that John Cusack? No, yeah, Knowing was the Nicolas Cage film, and there's a massive corona mass ejection that's going to get thrown out from the sun, and it's going to burn up the earth. I believe that there would be Christians waiting, thinking Jesus is going to come at the last minute. He's going to come. Just you wait and see. He's going to come at the very last second. They'll be so stubborn right up to the end. Absolutely. It's incredible. It's incredible because it really doesn't take a lot. I know this is the thing. When you're investigating a certain line of inquiry, for example, I mentioned the TDC radio people. Like, they're investigating a certain line of inquiry right now, and they're coming up with great stuff. They've got some really cool stuff that even I haven't looked into, and they're pulling things together, and it's great. I'm a preterist, they're futurists, but they still have good stuff, little things that I've not seen. But I couldn't instantly derail them. It would be very jarring if I just started to push my weight in and say, by the way, preterism is true, here we go, because we don't realize this, but sometimes, as objective as we think we're being, there's a little bit of ego in there. There's a little bit of ego fueling the flames and panning things forward. And it's like, if you rub people's egos the wrong way, then that's what you're going to end up confronting. You can't really reason with that, you know what I mean? Because as eloquent as you could make your argument, it doesn't matter of people being receptive to it, and they're not going to be receptive to it, unfortunately. If you just sort of offer it coldly, I feel like for people to listen to any position that you have, they need to warm to you psychologically. They just need to feel a certain level of attachment to you to give you any kind of benefit of doubt. Because if they don't invest in you, then they're just not going to care what you have to say. Oftentimes, I feel this is the way, you got to win over the hearts before you win over the minds. To a certain degree, some people come ripe and ready, and their mind is open because they're already dealt with their heart. But for a lot of people, not so much. Not so much. Yep. I'm not going to drink any more of that. Jeez. This is a coronavirus disinfectant here, whiskey. As I say, I didn't finish this full bottle, and that's like a little slice of bell pepper that's in there because I was eating a fajita and it fell on the floor. This is something my half Mexican friend from New York City was telling me. She was telling me all the different things I was pronouncing wrong, like jalapeno, I don't know, fajita, I don't know. I often find like I'm saying the same thing, but people are just being uncharitable. They're like, "Oh, I couldn't tell what you were saying." Like, there's a certain name for a particular woman that walks around barefoot in Spanish culture. It's like a pata sucia. If you're American, you might have heard of this. Parasusia, right? So I'm saying Parasusia, and she's like, what on earth are you talking about? I've got no idea. I've got no frame of reference at all. Like, Parasusia. I've heard that in Florida. And then she's like, oh, you mean Parasusia? I'm like, I just said that in a slightly different voice. That just really annoys me. Like if I'm speaking to a German person, I'll speak a little bit of German to them, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. I'm like, really? This is what I'm trying to say, and then they'll repeat it back to me, and there's like a fraction of a difference. I'm like, that's just annoying. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? Yeah, it's a slow news day. It's a slow news day. I've covered everything I was going to say. Let's get in here with the questions, guys. Let's fire into the question. Tell me what you were doing this week. Dirty Feet, Parasusia. That's it. That's the one. Right, let's look for some clues. Yeah. So in some of my videos, you can see this whiteboard because I use this camera here when I'm filming like a proper video, and it faces more like this kind of angle here, and you can see this board on the wall, right? And I'll write things on there. So in my Daniel video, you might see some scribbles on it, and it's just the dates, like the 1,290, 1,335, 2,625 divided by 365 is 7 years. 3.5, 3.5 is 7 years. 3.5 days times and half a time. But at the very bottom, there is a calendar that I've written up, and it starts in August 2019, which is when I made it, and it extends across to August 2021, because my plan was to move to America in August 2021, and I've just left it there, and it's got a wee American flag kind of scribbled in over August. But I don't think I'm going to do that. I'd like to do that. I might do that, but I don't see it in the cards right now. Although I don't really know what I'm going to do, because there's a few wee things I'm thinking about. Right. Mary says, I love your heart, my brother, and the words of truth you speak. For years I've watched you, but I don't say much. Thank you. And hopefully, I don't know, it's calling you Marie, okay? Marie, is that okay? Am I getting that wrong? What does it be? Marie? I don't know. I'll say Mary until you correct me. Just write it out phonetically. But thank you so much. That means a lot. And as I say, I want to encourage people to come out and to speak. Like, I want to do stuff with this channel that I've always had a wee idea that would be pretty cool, but maybe, I don't know, it might seem a bit a bit garish, but I don't know if I want to articulate it, but good stuff, like stuff that would benefit people watching the channel, so that we could have a nice wee community, you know. And I wouldn't ask anybody watching to do anything, but I can do stuff, you know, like wee giveaways and stuff like that. But when I say wee, like kind of substantial ones, you know. As I say, I've kind of stepped away from the teaching thing right now, because I was doing elementary teaching or primary school teaching. I've kind of stepped away from that just now after my brother's accident, because I wanted to pursue things that I really wanted to try but never thought were likely. You know, so there's like little like comedy and drama scenes and stuff like that in Glasgow that I'd like to throw myself into. And it's not so much that that's going to lead to a big opportunity, but I can meet like-minded people, and then with those like-minded people work on little projects and stuff like that. That's the way I'm looking at it. I'm not like seeing it as a big jumping off point. I always kind of come back to this one experience a few years ago. I was an extra on a Scottish comedy program, and they invited me to the big rap party. And everyone was there. Like, there was a really prominent Scottish comedian there called Frankie Boyle. Don't look him up if you're a Christian who likes pure things. But it was, I mean, it promised to be a good time, but I didn't go ultimately because I had other previous engagements. So it just kind of made me see like how easy it is. Like, well, it depends on the opportunities, doesn't it? But for me, what I got a sense of was if you can actually speak to these people openly and honestly, and just seem like someone that might be nice to hang around with, then people tend to be quite receptive to that. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it works all the time. You know, some people might just not like you just for no reason whatsoever. But it doesn't seem like it's an impossible thing to achieve. You know, to make a few impressions. So I'd like to go and try that. And that's kind of like what Vero's. Oh, just gave her name. You know, you don't know her. Veronica, the American. She she's doing that. You know, she drove from California to New York, lived out of a car for weeks in New York City. That sounds mad to me. And she's pursued it, and now she's up and coming. She's meeting lots of different people. You know, she has her ambitions. You know, I mean, it sounds good. And I'm sure there is like a series of like artistic, creative people who can get like sort of like stuck in a little rut. But I don't mind, you know, I don't mind. I just want to go and do something, at least try something that I feel like I enjoy, and then get a real taste for it. And maybe I don't like how it tastes, and maybe then I'll step back out from it and delve back into the teaching gig. But before then, I would, you know, quite happily try other things. And you know, I mean, we don't know. I don't know how many years I've got left, months, weeks, but I mean, I'm just living day by day. But what I was trying to say is, I have this job, this kind of like secure gig I do, where I work with vulnerable adults. So adults with learning difficulties and things like this. It's nothing too severe, like autism and things like that, but enough that where they can get out. And it pays really quite well. You know, it's for what it is, kind of like entry level work. You don't really need qualifications to do it. It helps, but you don't need them. You just need to, like, people skills. And sometimes I can make like £1,800, which is like, I don't know, $2,000 or something like that a month. And it's not really that taxing. It can become quite tiring, but you tend to work 15 hours days and then sleep over. And I don't need that much money. You know, I don't need it. Like I stay here at home. You know, I haven't moved out or anything like that just now. This is the family home, and I feel like, you know, not all the time, but like once a month, I would like to do a thing where like I put some money somewhere in an escrow account that subscribers can access as they want. This is why, like I mentioned, I've won the lottery. I don't know how much I've won, but if I ever did win a good sum, I would kind of lock down my subscribers or, you know, Facebook friends or something like that, and then just help, just be there for people. I feel like that'd be such a wonderful kind of position to be in. But I think that can become a trap, because I think we all feel like that. We all feel like, you know, see if I had the money, I'd be such a great person. God, do you hear that, God? If I had all that money, I'd be so cool with it. Just throwing it out there. I'm just throwing it out there. Because we all feel that way, but ultimately we don't know. I mean, probably we would do good things, wouldn't we? We'd probably all do good things with the money. We'd all do good things with the money. Get ourselves a little Lamborghini Aventador SVJ on the side. That's a given. The Lamborghini's a given. But we're going to do good things with the money. I remember, I forget the name of the film, but Leonardo DiCaprio plays the part of this big Wall Street guy. The film might be called Wall Street. Martin Scorsese, Matthew McConaughey's in it too, Jonah Hill, and he does this little spiel in it. He gives a dialogue in it where he talks about, you know, people think that rich people are like this negative thing, but actually, I can give like $1 million to charity tomorrow. How much have you ever given to charity? And then you think to yourself, oh, I see. But as we know as Christians, it's not about that, you know, because we're given the story of the widow, and she just gives this little amount, and people would scoff and say, really? really? You're giving me 2 cents? But God knows that's all she had. You know what I mean? That was all she had. Now, you could be very cynical about that and say, well, it was all she had, but it also wasn't that much. It's not the same as a millionaire giving away his £1,000,000, is it? But it depends. Again, it depends on how you're looking at it. You're looking at it quantitatively, or are you looking at it qualitatively? And that disposition of heart is the most important thing. So that's it. We're all given these really interesting walks in life, you know what I mean? And the thing is not to get too attached to this world. And I think, like, you know, it's a very important lesson that I don't feel like the youth are going to get a lot of, you know, because of we're kind of stepping away from the health that can come from spirituality. A lot of people, I feel, would love to establish themselves more in this world, which isn't, it's not a bad thing in and of itself, but again, we don't need status, we don't need wealth to achieve these amazing things. And there's a richness to the most modest experience, you know? Like, full transparency, I can't afford yet right now. Like, I've been at work for like 2 months now. Talk about strapped for cash, but I don't care. I don't feel insecure about it. I don't mind. You know, I know I've got that job that I'm not going to go to because the zombie virus is killing everyone. No, it's not that. Not that I'm not afraid of that. What are you talking about? But I don't mind. I'm not worried. I'm not upset. I like my status in life. And to be honest, like, I don't know, like, I feel very blessed to be where I am and to be who I am, you know, for as little as that is and for as much as that is. It's a wonderful experience, you know. And I was reflecting today, if you have a Facebook account or something like that, it gives you little memories of what you said years before and stuff like that. And I posted some family pictures, which led to some other family pictures, you know. And I just thought to myself, you know, living up through childhood. I know, and not everyone's childhood is a lovely time, but there are these little moments where you're just experiencing the world with such purity of heart, and all that's just so wonderful. I mean, I'm sitting here. I'm 31 years old, and I forget that sometimes. You know, I forget, like, the fullness of the life that I've lived. And I guess it's not the same as a life lived maybe in a harsher environment, or even in the past where people were leading their revolutions at 25 years old with a life expectancy of 26. But in those 31 years, I've come through such a rainbow of experiences, such a wonderful range of experiences, you know. And if it was all to finish tonight, I couldn't complain. You know, I couldn't complain. I see that Ravi Zacharias has back issues, and he had an operation, and they took a biopsy, and he had this intense pain in his back, and he thought it was maybe just the operation, but the result for the biopsy came back, and he has a sarcoma, like a rare tumor. And I don't know. I don't know what the prognosis is. It doesn't look too bad. I don't know. But he's going to heal from the surgery, and then he's going to get chemotherapy, I suppose, to minimize it, or radiotherapy. And he's asking people to pray for his health and things like this, you know, which is fine. I don't know why I feel like it's not fine. Like, there's a little part of me that feels like, is that, I don't know. I mean, he's 72 years old. I don't know. I think it's just because I'm thinking about Nabil Qureshi, and he passed away with aggressive stomach cancer at 34. And, you know, that was a real sad one, you know. And I feel like there's a real resistance. You know, people talk about this coronavirus making people think about the mortality, and I feel like there's a real resistance to accept it, and I get that. You know, I watched Nabil's last words on his YouTube video. He lived for another 10 days or so, but I'm watching him, and I'm trying to feel it. I'm trying to see it through his eyes, you know, because I want to empathize with that experience, you know, because I don't know, it could be me one day. And I can see him, the way he's breathing and his expression, what he's saying, what he's trying to communicate. And it's a very moving video. And it's just seeing someone, you know, at the end, pretty much. And it just makes you think about that yourself. Like, how am I going to take that? First of all, am I going to have the opportunity? You don't have to think about these things. I mean, it's not hell. I'll div it out of this in a second, but at the same time, I just want to feel like I'm okay with it. I don't want to be like, pray for me. Like, pray for me. I don't want to ask anybody to pray for me. When I'm going to go, when I'm seriously ill, I had a great time. It's been a wonderful experience. There might be a little apprehension about what's the transition like, but it's fine. I've had a great time, and I've had so many wonderful, edifying experiences, and that's the note I want to go out in. I don't want to ask anyone to pray for me or anything like that. I'll go when it's time to go. And I just feel like that's a healthier way to look at it. I don't know. Like, as I say, I don't want to put in, if anyone's ever asked for prayer, I think that's a fantastic thing. I think there's power in prayer. That's great. Maybe you should. But I'm not going to. I'll just pray for myself. I'll just pray for myself. And if that's not enough, then fair dues. It doesn't matter. But I do believe we'll have a little purpose, a little part to play, you know. And that goes back to the whole being comfortable within your means kind of thing. You know, like, as I'm saying, is what you know, if I had the money, I'd be so charitable, though. I'd be so charitable, Lord. It's like, nah, it's fine. It's all right. We should just be comfortable where we are. And I guess that's an easier thing to say for some than for others. But, yeah. What else came? Something else came to my knowledge recently. Right. So in Jude, we're told that Lucifer wanted the body of Moses. Okay. Why did Jude put that detail in there? This was something that someone brought up just yesterday or the day before. Why is that detail in there? So was it Gabriel and Lucifer fighting or contending over the body of Moses? I think it was Gabriel, right? Or was it Michael? I'm going to say Gabriel until someone corrects me. And the point that's getting put across, the point being conveyed in Jude, is that Gabriel didn't slander Satan, or rather Lucifer himself, but rather said it was Michael. It was Michael. Great. Just embarrassed me. It was Michael. Michael was contending with Lucifer over the body of Moses, and I also forget what he said, but he said something like, "God." It wasn't "God bless you." It was like the opposite of "God bless you," like something like that. Anyway, he didn't. I'm only joking, for sure. I'm only joking. Aye. So I'm the worst right now. So Jude, something said, but the point I'm trying to get across is there is this contention over the body of Moses. Now, why? Why is there a contention over the body of Moses? And then, just thinking about the two witnesses, because we've delved into Revelation here. So if you look at the description of the two witnesses, one's given the power to withhold the rain, and the other's given the power to outpour plagues. Withholding rain is Elijah. Plagues is Moses. Elijah is like carried up to heaven in a chariot of fire or whirlwind, or he's taken up anyway. I think it's Enoch that was taken up in a chariot of fire, right? But Elijah is sort of like carried away, right? Moses, he dies, right? But then his body is what? Right? That's the question. And I guess this is all like sort of like lore mythology, maybe, rather than actual history. Depends where you go with it. Pardon me. But it's like Moses, could it be interpreted that Moses's body was actually snatched up? Was Moses taken? Was his body taken so that at the transfiguration, let's say you've got Elijah and you've got Moses there, you know? I don't know. Yeah, that's a good point. We leave this earth, but we don't die because our spirit continues in God, no death in Christ. Absolutely. That's absolutely it. So yeah, I don't know. So that was just an interesting one about that detail. Like, why is it in there? What is Jude trying to communicate to us about this body of Moses? You know, like, what is he referencing? Right? What is he actually referencing? Because we don't have a text, we don't have a scripture in the Bible that talks about this occasion. What is Jude talking about? Is he talking about the book of Enoch or something like that? Does that make any sense, really? I don't know if that makes any sense, but he's definitely referencing something, some piece of apocrypha that we don't have. And that's a whole rabbit hole in itself, isn't it? The apocrypha, very interesting stuff. There was a time when I was really into that, like the book of Adam, the book of Eve, the book of Enoch. Very interesting stuff. Of course, I was poring over it and reading it as like literal history, and it was so fascinating. I think it's really fascinating to read in that way. As much as I've kind of stepped away from the whole literal side of it, I feel like it's good. It's a good place to be in to read that stuff because it makes it all the more wonderful. At least it did for me. And to just live it, to experience it, and think this really happened as is told. This is it. And some of you might actually think that way, which is fine. I think that it's certainly truth being communicated. I know that some people, if you think it's literal history, and someone says what I just said, I think there's truth in it. I don't think it happened. Like, you're just going to be like, oh, well, you know, man, like, no, I'm not going to accept that. You know, I get that. I can see that being like almost a bit condescending. Ah, gosh, I shouldn't be drinking that coffee. Yeah. So, the plan. What is the plan? Kingdom Christianity, amillennialism, post-millennialism, and preterism. Which one is right? Yeah, it just seems clear to me at this stage of the game, that we have it right with preterism. I think most people will come around. I want to try and literally push prod this guy called Joel Sexton. Joel Sexton is a YouTuber who's interacted with Don K. Preston, and he's been making videos for the past 4 years. And during the course of that 4 years, he's often critiqued preterism. He sees preterism as error. And his latest video is Full Preterism Desperation, Representative Judgment versus Universal Judgment. And he kind of makes the point, something that I alluded to earlier, like, as a preterist, I give you these big, and I think a lot of people do this, like, I'll give you this big download of, here's a big powerful point, here's a big powerful point. You know, like, for example, you know, Daniel's told to close up the book because the time's far off. John's told to keep it open because the time is now. And the First Corinthians, Paul tells them that they live in the last days, you know, in Hebrews, and yet a very, very little, he who is coming shall come. Jesus telling us that He lives in the time where all things written will be fulfilled, that you won't finish going through the towns of Israel before the Son of Man comes in his kingdom. Some of you who are alive and standing here shall not taste death till the Son of Man comes. Repent, for the kingdom is at hand. Jesus telling us that these, what is it he says again? The time is, it's the expression is, no, I can't get it just now. But he does mention that he lives in the last days, where those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall rise, right? And we're told that Daniel will sleep until when? Until that time. Okay. Jesus says that time is during his lifetime. Does he or doesn't he? He does. There's a lot of powerful points to be made. And you can go and you can jump between them, like Joel 2, Acts 2, the outpouring of the Spirit in the last days, Elijah coming before the great and terrible day of the Lord, if you're willing to accept it. John as Elijah was to come. There's lots of things to look at, right? That's a given. And so I'll harp on about these things. But then you get people like Joel Sexton and others who kind of get stuck on the nitty-gritty. Now, they won't interact with those larger points that you've presented, those larger problems, those loud, shouty, in-your-face issues, like Jesus point blank telling us preterism is a fact. Why are you not listening to me? Okay, so we'll just disregard that, and we'll get hung up on these little minutiae. And that's what he's getting stuck on. And I suppose you could see this as not being minutiae at all. He seems to take issue with this whole representative judgment versus universal judgment position. And I think that comes from, I haven't watched his video, but if I had to guess, he's thinking like in the last day, there will be a universal judgment, like a great white throne judgment, where everyone who has ever existed will be judged before the throne of God. And this is all going to happen in unison. This is all going to happen at one time. Okay? Which is, again, a very interesting perspective, just the mechanics of it. I feel like everyone in their mind paints these pictures like, there's God sitting on his great white throne with Jesus literally sat. Like, God sitting on a throne? God sitting on a throne. Is God a mammal? Is God man? Does God sit on a throne? He's sitting on his throne and everyone stood before him. And I guess we're all wearing white robes. It's very materialistic. It's very, like, not sci-fi, but fantasy. You know what I mean? I feel like there's more to it than this, but it's just easy to think that way. As I said, we've divorced ourselves from a comprehensive Hebraic, ancient Jewish mindset. So I feel like that's a shame. It's a shame. We miss the richness of what's being discussed when we do this. Here we go. We got Liam. Oh, Judah's referencing Zech 3. Right you are. Liam, Ellie, no matter how much I meditate on the subject, I don't feel spiritually comfortable with preterism. I can't really explain it in words. I get that. You know what I mean? I'll come back to that. Let's just see, brother man. It's up. Oh, there's Sonic Grace. Nice to see Sonic Grace. It is done. It is done. The day is today when you hear and see. The things that happen teach us the nature of spiritual things that happen even now. Last day has happened, seeing here. Yeah, and there's a lot in the Bible. There's a lot of similitudes, right? You can do a study on similitude in the Bible. Where things kind of cross-reference and we're told, as, what is it? Ecclesiastes or Lamentations, or is it a proverb? There's nothing new under the sun. What's happened before will happen again. And that idea is peppered throughout the scriptures, and I feel like there's Certainly. You can actually look probably at current times and construe the second coming time and time and time again. All the ingredients you need is a sense of persecution, a sense of overcoming that persecution. You need an antagonist that you can describe as Antichrist, having characteristics that are antithetical to the Spirit of God, right? And some kind of victory, some kind of overcoming. The problem is that overcoming element, because we're not willing to see that. We're not willing to see that. Now, we will see everything today. We will see tribulation. We will see wars in diverse places, earthquakes. We will see disease and famine. We're willing to see all of that today, yesterday, tomorrow. We're willing to see all those ingredients. But regardless of where you look, if you're not a preterist, you will never see the victory, because it cannot live up to your expectation. Because your expectation is unreal. It's unrealistic. It's too materialistic. Because your expectation is the cessation of all physical pain, of disharmony, of nature functioning as we know it. For example, a lamb and a lion will be able to frolic together. People will live to be 700 years old and stuff like this. Things that don't happen in nature. Unless that happens, you'll never accept the victory. And that's stifling, I feel, But in terms of like preterism, feeling spiritually uncomfortable, I guess I don't know. We don't know, Liam. I don't know, Liam. I don't know how long you've meditated on it. And we all come at things with different ways, from different perspectives. And for example, there's different points of doctrine I've felt secure in, and like I've kind of grown around about them, and I've had to jettison them because they're wrong. And that process in itself, and I'm sure you've probably done that yourself, Liam, where you have to let go of something that you've held on to, and it feels like you lose a part of yourself. It feels like you have to give up a part of yourself. And maybe that could describe the discomfort you feel, because you almost have to cede a big chunk of yourself that had grown up round about this idea, this expectation, and that's not going to feel good. It's not going to feel right. It's going to feel wrong. It's going to feel like you've set yourself in a very vulnerable position. It's like, okay, well, here's a big chunk of me that's now missing, and here's a big raw nerve that's now exposed. It could be that. That could be too simple. It could be more deep-seated than that. It might just be that your experience with preterism hasn't been particularly positive in terms of the people, that you've heard talking about it. Not necessarily myself, but maybe you've encountered people talking about preterism, and you just feel like, well, wait a minute, this guy's talking about preterism, but I'm not really seeing any fruit here. I'm not really I'm not getting this. Like, I'm not really feeling the vibe right now, And that could be I don't know, like a community thing, a relationship thing. I don't know. There's different ways to look at it. Another way to interpret it is the way you're saying it. It could be God telling you preterism is wrong, right? God telling you preterism isn't right. There's something amiss with it, right? And if you feel like that's what you're being told, then go with it. You know what I mean? Hang out here, talk about your ideas, get in the comment section and say your piece, because nobody's going to attack you for it. You may get a little bit sass from some people. Don't represent everyone. But you stick around and comment and say your piece, because you might bring things to light that I've overlooked. And I'm saying that from the position of I'm fairly secure in this now. Again, I'm trying to do that thing where I'm trying to be objective about that, but I realize that I've probably invested some ego into this. I've probably invested some personal feelings into preterism at this point. Even if I think I haven't, I'm just going to say maybe I have. And that can drive things sometimes, but as objective as I think I can be, I'm pretty sure preterism just spells it out. How do you make sense of Jesus saying, you won't finish going through the towns of Israel before the Son of Man comes in his kingdom? If it was just that itself, but it's not just that itself. He says it again about people being alive. You who stand here will not taste death before the Son of Man comes. We hear in Matthew 23 where he talks about the bloodshed of all the righteous coming upon that generation. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees. You say you wouldn't kill the prophets. I will send you prophets and wise men, and you will kill them. Assuredly I say unto you, all the righteous bloodshed will come upon this generation, from the blood of Abel to the blood of Zedekiah, son of that other guy, Barakai or something. Forgot it now. But, he says that these things will come upon that generation. And then, of course, Matthew 24, which I stay away from because that's the one that people kind of get contentious with. But even Matthew 24, he says it again. Assuredly, all these things will come upon this generation. He seems quite insistent about it. He does seem quite insistent about it. I feel like the disharmony is, if you accept it, you're kind of outside the mainstream of every Christian church. You're outside the mainstream of it. You've just sort of jettisoned yourself out of mainstream Christianity. And if that's even a part of it, I wouldn't worry about it. Like I've just mentioned these TDC radio people, and they're not preterists at all, but they seem like really lovely people. I've been on their Discord. They're fantastic people. Like they've got such love. It doesn't matter what they think. It doesn't matter what I think about points of doctrine in terms of fulfillment of prophecy and working out all the wee jots and tittles and things. But the spirit is there. The love that I felt. That nice little feeling you get sometimes when you kind of walk into something, and you're like, oh, this is quite lovely. Everybody's so nice. That's the kind of feeling I got there. It felt like Christmas, when you're a kid. That's a nice wee feeling. I'd love to try to capture that vibe on this channel. And that's what I'm saying. Like down the line, sometime I want to get something like that going on where I can give back, and make a wee kind of community. Maybe even start a Discord at some point. But by the way, there is somebody that mentioned that is a preterist Discord. I did mention it earlier on in the video, so hopefully they'll watch the first 5 minutes, and then hopefully I mention it in the first 5 minutes. And they'll see it and put a little link again. But if they don't, I'll search out and put it in another video when I make a proper video. Right, let's catch up. Those in sin, unbelief, live under judgment. Believers have been judged righteous. Yep, you're right. We are now watching the evil systems of the world falling right before our eyes. Yep. Babylon, globalism falls every time, yep. It feels uncomfortable. No one likes being called a heretic. That's true. Nobody likes to get called a heretic, I see people reject the new creation because they don't see themselves as part yet, or having their new eternal body yet. Churchianity has poisoned the well. Over 100 imminent time statements in the New Testament. Yeah, that's right. Was it the Beast of the Earth video? There was a Beast of the Sea video. At the end of my Beast of the Sea video, you'll see at the last 30 seconds or something like that, I scroll. If you watch, I put a rolling credit where I put all 100 time statements so people can read them. I might just make a video where it just is the 100 times statements. Religion, yeah, is the mindset of the fallen nature trying to understand spiritual things. Yep. Yeah, religion, when you think about it, like organized religion. Ooh, organized religion, right? The worst kind. Organized religion is, well, it depends what you make of it, right? There's nothing wrong with organizing. But if you look at the history of our Christianity, and you see these amazing stone buildings, right? You have these positions of authority and power, this respect imbued upon these clerics and priests and ecumenical councils, and just, I don't know, it all seems very materialistic. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having positions of authority or even having nice, beautiful buildings, but it's not necessary. And you certainly shouldn't be killing people for not, or imprisoning people for not worshipping in the auspices of a particular sect's church, established church, or anything like that. You should have the freedom to express and experience the spiritual, but we've sort of tried to regulate it. It's sort of like, I don't want to go off on tangents. I don't know what I'm going to say next. We'll just see. It's sort of like the free market economy, isn't it? Too much regulation and you strangle competition and you lose out on profitable enterprises. Same can be said with spirituality. If you over-regulate, you get religion, and you find that the blind lead the blind, and you don't have as many profitable expressions of spirituality. That's it. The rapture stuff is nonsense, escapism. My church ain't too organized, but we have fun. Yeah, that's it. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with getting a group of people together and having a great time and enjoying that process of worship and community and coming together. That all sounds amazing. The rapture, though, what is the rapture? Like, I invested so much time and so much emotion into the rapture. Tell you, I was a lot more prepared for coronavirus when I believed in the rapture, because I had my month's supply of food and all the rest of it. I had my tins. But yeah, I just I don't know. The rapture, it was something I was so afraid of. I'm like, there's a steelwork. There used to be a massive steelwork in Kilburnie. It's long since gone, or Glengarnock. But there is still a J.D. Pierce, and it doesn't matter where you are in this town. They will move metal, okay? Huge bars of metal, they're making beams and stuff and struts and supports. And it sounds like a Tyrannosaurus Rex just roaring throughout the town, that kind of, it's like, whoa, what's going on? And I remember when I thought, oh no, this rapture's going to happen, that I heard that and I thought, like, a pang of anxiety flooded my body, and I thought, is that the last trumpet? Did I just hear the last trumpet? Literally went insane. Just turned into a crazy person. But this is it. I'm trying to take my faith seriously. I'm investing my emotion. I'm investing my intellect into it, because I believe that's what you're supposed to do. Love God with all your strength, with all your heart, with all your mind. And I was doing that wrong. I was doing it wrong. And I was just preparing myself for this imminent return, because Jesus could return at any point. He could return at any point, right? And when he does, what's that going to look like? I'm getting ready for like an antichrist demon thing to lead the world, and then like armies to come up and take me into a camp and behead me in a guillotine and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Like, as I say, like, that's what you believe in, then hey, you know what I mean? Put it in your back pocket. But But at the same time, I don't think we need to live in the expectation of anything like that. I think that's like action hero fantasy. I feel like that would be too easy. And it ain't that easy. And it ain't that easy on purpose. By design, it's hard. By design, there's really profound questions that bubble to the surface every day. By design, we're confronted by ourselves on a daily basis. By design, our consciences convict us of the things that we don't want to be doing or don't want to be thinking, lines of inquiry, lines of action. Or if there's things that we're drawn towards that are good and we know they're good and we're encouraged to pursue them, and we have this great vision in mind and it gives us joy to pursue that, we are, it's subtle and it's not subtle. It's this day-to-day thing called life. And in that is everything. It's all there. It would be far too easy to the point that it would not meet the criteria of a test if all you had to do was lay your head in a guillotine. Let me tell you something. If a big antichrist came on the scene, right, doing miracles, doing half the things that you think are going to happen with a futurist mindset, you would know. You wouldn't need to have faith. You would know. Because if you meet the devil, right, you know God exists. There's no need for faith anymore. So if that happened and they said, right, you got to put your head in a guillotine, you'd be like, well, okay, do it. Honestly, there would be no test. What do you get? What's to be gained? Oh no, I'm too afraid to put my head in the guillotine. Oh, I'll die. It's like, you're going to die anyway. But now you know that God exists, and now you know that all it costs is you to do this. Lean forward, and you're in paradise forever. You're done. You didn't have to work on yourself. You didn't have to worry about the day-to-day, about refinement. You didn't have to think about how to enhance the lives of others round about you. You didn't have to meditate on love. You didn't have to meditate on spirituality. You didn't have to think about what Jesus' ministry is all about. You didn't have to care about your neighbor. You didn't have to care about God. All you had to do was lean forward and put your head in a guillotine. So easy. And people will try and ham it up and be like, no, it's not. It's not easy because it's scary to die. Really? When you know the devil is running the world, I think the whole charade comes down. You know what I mean? The game's over. You know what I mean? Everything you thought to be right about the world, at least on some level, has just been flipped upside down. And you're like, right, you know what I mean? I can see it all now. All I need to do is get my head chopped off and I'm good. AC's great. You know what I mean? It's just too easy. It's too easy, right? And as I've been over on this channel, that I might get into it a wee bit, all these things, they're motifs, you know? Like riding in clouds of judgment and things like this. There's ways to interpret these things to make sense of it. Yeah. So that's it. The rapture stuff is nonsense, and it is, as Sonic Grace has said here, it is escapism. It's the best way to summarize everything I've said. That is escapism, because you escape from the complexity and nuance of the human experience, you know. And what a wild experience this is. Look at it, man. It's crazy, you know. It's a crazy experience. You know, you got walls and stuff. You got to wear these clothes. You got to fall asleep. We made these beds to fall asleep in. We got wires and stuff now. It's great. It's a wild experience. It doesn't make a lick of sense, but it's fantastic. We're here and we're doing it. The church is not a building. The church is as not a building made with hands. Yeah. I mean, I've heard people define it like the ecclesia, the church, the called out ones, right? We're the called out. We make a church. We are the living stones with the indwelling spirit. This is it. This is it. That is the whole point. If you've ever uttered those words, if you've ever thought that sentiment, the only way it makes sense, the only way it's true, is if Jesus achieved everything that he sought out to achieve. You know, because God used to dwell in the Holy of Holies in a temple of bricks, so they thought. Well, I mean, sure, he could have manifested there, right? But come on, you know, the earth is his footstool. You know, we're going to build a temple for him to live in. But hey, the grace of God is that kingdom of God is in our midst. God is within us. We can be expressions of God. We are, you know, and that's so amazing. That's so beautiful. You know, say a wee act of kindness from a stranger sometimes, you know, you feel it yourself. I know this can be quite a simple way to look at it, but sometimes the simple ways are great. I remember there was this old couple and they just pulled up to a parking space, parked their car, and they didn't have the right change for the meter, right? And I just walked past them and I thought, I've got the money in my pocket. I've got the money in my pocket. Just take it. And I did it. I took the money out and I gave it to them. And I felt fantastic. And they were so, And people have written things about this too. Like there was this homeless guy. And I don't forget the details of the story, but he just felt this really strong compulsion to about turn, go back to the homeless man and hand him $20. And as he did it, like there was another woman who had just done it too, you know, and they both had this feeling like they had to do it, you know, like they normally wouldn't do it, walk by this guy every day or whatever, but today they felt like they really had to do it. And there was some miraculous thing about that at the time, but you know, to be a wee instrument for God, that's the thing about all of it, you know what I mean? When you abide by God's will, let's just be generous and say that giving 20 pence to these old ladies was God's will. When you abide by God's will, right, it feels awesome. It's where you want to be instinctively. It's what you want to be all about. God's will is your will, because when you get to the core of it, God is the substrate of us, of everything that exists. There is a oneness. There's a one spirit, right? We're called to partake of that divine nature. What divine? Who's it? God. We're called back into that, to acknowledge that. That's what we are. We are the children of God, is how we say it. And that's a beautiful thing to be, you know? It's a beautiful thing to be. It just feels good. It's the way, it's how you want to live. End time doctrine. It's a spirit of fear. That's right. We've not been given a spirit of fear, right? That spirit of adoption, isn't that a wonderful thing too? You know? Yeah. These are nice sentiments to reflect on. Jesus appears in you. You will know as you will have the fruits of life. This is it. When Jesus appears in you, you will have the fruit of life manifest. It's a wonderful thing. It really is, you know. It's a beautiful thing to see. And it's like a point I've made before that I thought was quite nice was, you know, for the most part, some of us don't have particularly nice mothers, but especially if you're a boy, if you're a guy, you tend to think very fondly of your mum, and you've got the best mum in the world, right? I don't know your mum, but she's the best mum in the world, hopefully, right? Hopefully you think that of her. Even if some mums go through hard times, you know, there generally is love there, buried underneath it, right? Best mum in the world. And it's like, you don't know my mum, I don't know your mum, but we know their love, right? We know their love. And so it's almost as if I do know your mum because I've experienced the love. And that love is like a big well. And that big well, you could call God. God is, I'm sorry, I didn't mean, you know what I mean? Be generous, be generous. But God is the water of life is as much a part of God as anything else, right? That wellspring. Okay, so it wasn't me that came up with that, right? And we can all drink and partake of this water of life. What's the water of life? The Spirit of God. It's the Spirit of God. And what's the Spirit of God? It's the essence of who He is. So, yeah, and love is a fruit of that. Love is a fruit of that. And so we all get a little taste of that divineness, you know, a little experience of it just through our mums, just through our mothers, just through any guardian, any parent, any brother, any sister, anyone that's any friend, you know. So when the good hearty laughs that you have with your friends, I'm in that too, you're in that too. You know, I could have a laugh with someone over here in Scotland. If you've experienced a laugh yourself, you know what I mean? We're all in that kind of thing, right? Is that too crazy? I think there's something to that. Yeah. So yeah. Futurists are still separated from God. That's why they're waiting for Him. Oh yeah. Well, this is it. The futurist mindset does put distance, doesn't it? At least psychological distance between where you are and where you expect Jesus to appear, right? Like in clouds. But God is a lot closer to you than you know. Jesus is a lot closer to you than you would be willing to see. You know, that's an important point. The movie The End Is Near has a pretty funny secret rapture ending. Oh, sorry, this is the end. I don't know why I misread that. Yeah, this is the end. I've watched it once, I believe. I don't remember a lot of it though. I think that was just a big fun fest that those particular comedians had together. But they did make a Rapture movie. Quite interested to see. As I was talking about gangsters, that Michael Franzese guy, he's been in these Christian films. You know, Kevin Sorbo, you know, back in the day, where I used to look at celebrities to see who was a Christian and be like, yes, he's going to heaven. Oh, they're not going to heaven, damn. Right? I don't think like that anymore. But I'm happy to see that Kevin Sorbo is a Christian, but he is making some of these movies can be a bit cringy. But that Michael Franzese, who was in the Mob in New York, he's producing and starring in movies. He's going to be in a movie with Tom Hanks, which would be cool, I suppose. I wonder. I don't know if there's going to be a rapture scene in that one though. They fear dying and even fear more living. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Those born of the Spirit, one Spirit with God, that's it. We express heaven to this fallen world. This is it. You know, this is the whole thing about being a lamp in the world, you know, being a beacon of light and demonstrating what heaven is like in this world. That's why when, for example, if I'm speaking to Gail, this girl I'm in a relationship with, and she starts to cry or lose it or seem a bit weird, right? She does something a bit strange. Like she was mortified that I showed up early to her hometown. So upset was she that I was early that she began to cry, driving me to her parents' house for dinner. And she was going to walk in the door with tears streaming down her eyes because I was early. And she gave me the impression, she said to me, I won't tell them you arrived early because I want them to like you. What are you saying? Why would your parents be upset? I don't believe that for a minute, first of all. I think she was disparaging their character when she said that, right? But I'm not gonna like make out like she's being really weird. So what I do is I frame her mindset in a way that makes most sense, right? So I steel man it and I empathize. I come and I meet her where she is. So I don't pit myself against her. I meet her shoulder to shoulder. I kind of almost, if you want, like I try and that could get crass. I go shoulder to shoulder with her, and I try and see the world through her eyes, right? I try and have that kind of like bonding, and then I guide her from her position towards my position in the most light way, where I kind of ask her if she'd like to see it in this light, and from that, I can get her from this high emotional state into something a bit more level-headed. And it's great, it works. She apologized at that point. She said, I'm sorry, I had a wobble. I just get really anxious sometimes. I like to feel in control. And when you showed up early, it threw me off. She's obviously a futurist. She was wanting a future return of William, but instead I arrived early. So yeah, I explained to her, that I did arrive early. Okay, I did arrive early, and that was fine, that it would be all right, and we'd get through it together. It was fine, and it's just about the spirit and how you do that. Yeah, so it's about expressing heaven, expressing that love, that empathy where you have it. Yeah, God's glory is his goodness. As John says, we don't know what we will be, but when he appears in us, we will be as he is. Christ in us. It's not me in the flesh, but in spirit, me in the new man. Adam, flesh, fallen, Christ, spirit. Yep. That's it, It says that, Jesus Christ became this life-giving spirit. That's a wonderful thing, and we should try our best to emulate that where we can, and try to be life-giving spirits to the people in our lives, and I enjoy that process. I just enjoy having a great time with people. I always want to look at people with unconditional positive regard where I can and where it makes sense to, yeah, there's something so lovely about that, Like, I don't meet family as much as I would like to. There was a funeral not too long ago, like a week ago, and it was I mentioned it before, my cousin's husband's mother, so my cousin's mother-in-law, and I went to that funeral, and it was just so nice to see the whole family together, Well, it wasn't the whole family, but it was family, and it was lovely. And I got to see my wee second cousins. Well, they weren't wee anymore. They were born in like 2001, so they're like 20 and stuff now. Gosh, it's mental. Absolutely mental. They just live down the road. Like, I could literally throw a stone from here and hit their house, and I haven't seen them grow in 10 years. It's mental. But I love that. I love that spirit. I love that sense of community. I think it's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. The new creation, God's own spirit dwelling in man. Hallelujah and amen. I think that's a fantastic idea, God's own spirit dwelling in man. It's a wonderful sentiment, isn't it? What if we believed that? What if we all believed that? Goodness, think of the dignity that endows you with. You're carrying God. You are this spirit of God in the world, Think of the beautiful interactions you could have with people. That would mean something. Push Prod says, crying in the way that you described is a major red flag. It could be a form of narcissism, which you may be vulnerable to. Just look into it. Aye. I'm not going to say what I'm going to say because that could be construed as sexist. No, but no, I feel like, yeah, I feel like crying like that is a little bit manipulative. But look, there's lots of different personality types, and I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, she's you know, she knows me. I say things sometimes that she doesn't agree with, and we come from different worldviews. You know, like Gail's an atheist. I'm not an atheist. I'm a theist. I'm a Christian theist. Then that's great. We have a meeting of minds together. So we're acknowledging that there is disagreement there. And I'm not ceding ground. Like when she cries, I don't give up and stop and think, well, like I'll just try and nurse her back to a condition of strength instead of feeling so vulnerable. But yeah, certainly I feel it can be a tactic, and I will talk to her about that eventually in a nice way that doesn't. How do you do that in a nice way? I don't know. But anyway, yeah, narcissism. I made that video after getting accused of being a narcissist. It's the worst thing ever. See, when you get into a relationship and then the word narcissist comes out, that thing ricochets off every surface. Like, oh, no, narcissism's bouncing off the walls. I think that's the daffodil, isn't it? Is the family is called Narcissus or something like that. Because Narcissus turned into like a golden flower. Yeah, goodness. I still think about that relationship. I'm going to dwell on that one too much with the American for Florida. I still really care about that person as well. I still think about them. I don't really give up on anyone, you know that? I don't give up on people. That was something that she said to me. She said that she was afraid that we would just grow apart and I would leave her, you know. And I said to her, you know, I'll never give up on you. I'll always be available to you as a friend. And then she was like, oh, that's nice. And then she gave up on me. Cool. But that's fine. You know, people, we all go through things at a different pace. And sometimes you just, I don't know, you know, we all feel different things in different ways. And we've all got our own stuff to deal with, you know. But there's a certain transparency and openness and honesty that we need to have. We need to look at ourselves in the mirror and understand like who we are as people, you know, who we are as people, what's our hang-ups, and things like this. So where Gail cries, somebody like the Florida girl, she would be antagonistic or snarky or just a bitch. Like, I know that might sound crass to say, but that's the only word to describe perfectly and succinctly what she was. Like, she's the kind of person you would say something to in a nice, congenial, uplifting, enthusiastic spirit. You would say something to her and she would ignore you passive aggressively, like kind of like, I'm not even going to interact with what you said. And I'd be like really annoyed, like really upset. Like, I did cede ground in that relationship, to be honest. You know, I let her have that and I shouldn't have done it. You know, I think I was just trying my damnedest to make something work that shouldn't have been, or at least trying to see in her qualities that she didn't have. And that was a mistake. Confidence appears as pride to some. Absolutely, it does. That's it. I always try and like you'll notice like even in my videos, I try and undercut myself sometimes. Like if I make a big serious video, like I did when the Satan is dead one, at the end I'll put in a little clip of me like blah blah blah, like messing up a line or something like that. And you might think to yourself, why did you do that? Like you had this big serious video and then you did that stupid stuff. And it's like, the reason I do that is because I'm not taking myself too seriously. I know that the subject matter might require some gravitas, but at the same time it's like, you know, I don't mean to be like shouting from a pulpit, this is right, you know. It's like I'm willing to be wrong on things and I'm willing to see myself in my proper station in life, you know. I don't see myself as some great teacher or anything like that. If anything, I'm a student learning from everyone who watches and everyone who cares to comment, you know. Yeah, I was told I love you, but I'm not in love with you. So people believe in Christ, but they're not in Christ. Yeah, that's a difficult one. I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Yeah, I think there just comes a point like where now, and I've heard David McMurdo speak on this as well. Maybe I'm going to say it a bit differently, but there just comes a point where there's like a kind of a screen that comes up, and like I'm not available to be hurt. You know, like I'm not available to be hurt. Like for instance, with this relationship I'm in with Gail, I'm not available to be hurt. You know, like I'm not calloused of heart, but too experienced in humanity at this point to expect anything good to come out of this. And that might sound really cynical, but it's not, because I cherish this person when they succeed in meeting any kind of expectation I might have in terms of just demonstrating some fruit of the spirit. And I've seen a lot of that, to be honest, and I rejoice in that, and I want to live in that, I want that to be. But as soon as that other person quenches that spirit, I'm not gonna let whatever else comes in there affect me anymore. You know, because you can't control other people. You might have a script in mind, but they're not going to stick to it. You might have something really like, I'm going to say this is going to be my thing, I need to say this. They might not even give you the opportunity to say it. You know, like with Sydney, with Sid, nobody knows who she is. With Sid, I'll just call her Sid. I gave her all the leash in the world, right? That's probably why she left me, because I was tying her up on a leash. No, I just gave her all the space in the world to do what she needed to do. Like after all the drama and stuff, we kind of got talking again. She called me on my birthday, and she was commenting on my videos on her birthday. But she doesn't think about me or anything like that. This is her trying to ghost me, and it's like we get talking again, and I give her her space, thinking this is great, this is relationship, I'm going to give her her space, we're going to talk. But she never gave it the chance to heal. She sniped at me like I'd be going out for Christmas shopping and stuff like that, and she just kind of railed against me, and you're this terrible human being, you made me transgress where I didn't want to transgress, you did these things to me. And I'm like, no, I completely reject that perspective. I know where you're coming from, and I know what you're doing, and it's cowardly, right? If you get into a relationship with someone and then back out of it, and then feel like, oh, that didn't quite work out, all of a sudden that wasn't right, all of a sudden I've come out of covenant, I've done something, I didn't want to be intimate with that person, it's their fault, they did this, they're a monster, they must be working with the demons of the sea in the marine kingdom. And then I got linked lots of videos about how the sea is actually the domain of Satan and stuff like this. I'm not going to go over that. Never going to go over that nonsense. But there's some African preacher going on about it on YouTube, so it must be true. I don't know. It's all very strange, man. That's why I made that little video about people could be disappointing, or people let you down, I think it was called. And I know I've done it too, so I'm speaking from experience. Mm-hmm. Well, he in us, we in him, we in the Father, as he says. I know this as truth. Yeah, that's it, and that's the one relationship that matters, because it's like what I was saying about that love, and about the love that the mum has for the son. And how that's a ubiquitous love. We all experience this emotion, we all experience this love, and in that love we all are, because in that God is love, and in him we have this wonderful relationship. not just with God, but with one another. This is the most important commandment, to love God and to love your neighbor. And the two are almost alike, because to love God is to love your neighbor, and to love your neighbor is to love God. When you did it to the least of these, you did it to me. And that is a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful thing to live in. It's fantastic. But yeah, I don't know. When I reflect back on every serious relationship I've had, I still think positively on those people that I interacted with, even though I was a complete idiot, in some of the things I've done and thought and said. I'm really blessed with the encounters I've had with these people who have influenced my life for better or worse. And through that, there's been a richness of experience. And you'll know this yourself. Maybe you've met someone that's really hurt you or something like that. But maybe you had to experience that. As I said, there's a rainbow of experiences to be had in this life, And every single experience goes towards making us the best person that we can be. It's all about how we navigate the bumps in the road and our ability to look on the bright side, or just to experience the sunshine when its radiance is upon us, and not to let it go. There was a time period there a few years ago where every time I saw a rainbow, I stopped and I looked at this rainbow, because again, I had this very literal mindset, and I thought, God made that. God made that. I think bow is like synonymous with covenant in a way. But I saw this rainbow and I thought, whoa, man, why is nobody else looking at this? Like, nobody else is paying attention to this rainbow, and it's such a beautiful thing. There's something about that just existing now. That was something a phone call I had. We said one time, Sid was talking about life and the future and everything like this and the anxieties of it. And I said, wait, now. I said, right now you have connection with God. Right now, life is happening. Sometimes we get so caught up with traveling between A and B that we forget to exist in the interim. We just kind of go into autopilot. Maybe you've got something to do on Monday, then the next big thing happens on Saturday, and you just kind of muddle through the week. I think we should take a wee minute every day, a wee hour every day, a wee 20 minutes even, just to exist in a moment, feel a moment. And you can do that through prayer, or you can do it just by looking out a window, looking at a beautiful flower, looking at some lizard or insect or something just moving around. Yeah. There's wonder in this world. Beautiful, mesmerizing, astonishing wonder. And I just think it's the greatest thing ever. I really do. Yeah. Love is Christ, which is truth. There's no greater love. Thank you, Sonic. I said, I live for that. I live for those moments. Pardon me. I just think, the world is a hard place for people, and it's a really lovely place for other people. But we're all human beings at the end of the day, and we can empathize, each of us, with every other who dwells on this rock. And I don't know, it's an exercise we should all be doing, I don't know. That's just, from what I've heard, relationship is like one of the most important things, relationship with God and relationship with the neighbor. This is it. Yeah, the eternal now. Yeah, that's how you say it. The eternal now. The eternal now. Mm, that's it. You know what? That reminds me, Sonic Grace. You remind me a bit of, I don't know. There's a term given. There was a way. There was like a spiritual cowboy or something. I don't know. There's an actor. Um, he was in The Big Lebowski. He was a cowboy in that. I forget his name now, but I love that character. You know, and you've kind of got those vibes, man. I just love that. You know, spiritual cowboy. I like that. Oh man, that's it. I would love to be in Texas sometime. I don't know why anyone would choose to live in New York over Texas, but I don't know. I guess certain people want different things. So yeah, that's very much where I'm at just now, is just trying to express God where and when I can, to chase experiences, and not. I mean, we can often sometimes feel stuck in a rut, but it's important to go out and have new experiences and to put yourself into novel contexts sometimes, as long as those contexts are things that you genuinely desire to do and have a hunger for. You know, like if you've got a wee penchant for music or art or drama or anything like that, video games, it could be anything. If you go and venture into it and enjoy yourself doing it, you can meet other people, you know, groups, uh, and those relationships can be really, really powerful, you know. So yeah, there's a lot to be said for that. I used to be a space cowboy. Oh yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Mm. So yeah, no, that's it. So yeah, Veronica's back in New York tomorrow. We never get a chance. She invited me to a baby shower. Not a baby shower. She invited me to a gender reveal party where a couple will tell everyone and discover what sex the baby is by bursting a balloon, and then either pink or blue sparkly confetti comes out. Um, that didn't go through because of the, you know, Donald Trump and every other country too. Their governments are closing down the whole borders and flights and stuff. So it just made sense for her to go back to America, just in case they prevented her from getting back at a certain point. So no, that's good. I'm glad you got that sorted out. But it was really nice of her to invite me to a gender reveal party of a family. I don't honestly have no idea where she was going to take me, but I've obviously made an impression on her, which I'm really happy to have done. You know, I think that's it. You know what I mean? You plant wee seeds, and then having the maturity to know how to germinate those seeds. Like for example, like as I said, she's a remarkably beautiful young woman, and in the past, as a young man, my head would have been to maybe she'll go out with me, grr. And it's like, no, man, I've got no. I mean, she's very nice. I'd be very flattered if she tried to seduce me, okay? But I'm not. I don't need that, right? I would take it. No, I don't need it. I don't need it. It's, I'm very comfortable with who I am and where I am, and I can interact with this person without any of those younger feelings about, oh, maybe she could be your girlfriend or something like that, you know. And that's when you know maturity's happened, because all those inclinations have been dampened by a desire for genuine relationship, you know, genuine relationship, not something you're trying to superimpose over something, because that's always weird and yucky and doesn't feel right. But just a raw genuineness, you know. I feel like that's the way to go. Lovey, you are very sweet. I think we're all very sweet here. We're all very sweet here. That's us, you know. We're doing it right. We're doing it right. Gosh, I need to tidy this desk though. I've got a lot of different items here. I got this little cross. It has the Lord's Prayer, like on it. There's like writing on it, which is the Lord's Prayer. I might wear this. I said I'm going to wear this at some point. I've left it because I only want to wear this for special occasions or when I've came to a certain understanding on things. When I feel like I've finally made it, I'll wear this, which will probably never happen and probably shouldn't ever happen, right? If we're constantly pursuing a perfected version of ourselves, maybe we just never get to that point. Got a little whistle here too. I don't know why it's turned into show and tell. And I've got my little St. Augustine's shell here, which was $4.95. Yeah, Veronica gave me our Metro card for the subway in New York, so that will come in handy maybe one day. Yeah. This little folder here is always in my videos. It's just always stuck up there. It's just full of little trinkets too. I don't know. I want to clean that out at some point. But yeah, I think of 2 hours and 25 minutes. Oh, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. You can tell I'm not working just now. It's 4 o'clock in the morning where I am. So yeah, I don't feel particularly tired, but I should probably rest up a wee bit. I think that's everything here. Thank you very much, guys, for listening. As I say, I want to try and foster a bit more of a community here amongst us and do more for people that are listening and participating and chatting away there. And even people who don't comment so much, but like to see the comments and watch videos and see the different ideas. I just want to have something there for people, So, what I mean? Even if it's just a little modest thing, I want to be able to give out to this little community here. I think that'd be a cool wee idea. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I've cancelled my plans for this weekend, so I'm just gonna do things in the local town. I've got 3 dogs in this household. I'll maybe put them on the camera sometime, and I'll go a nice walk with the dogs tomorrow. I think that's what I'll do. So God bless you all, everyone. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in a proper video in a couple of days' time. All the best. Bye for now. God bless.